Technology changes the skills that we apply and the processes that we follow. That's all a job is. The skills you apply and the processes you follow. 6 out of 10 jobs that exist today didn't exist in 1940, yet employment still was there. Employment continues to go up. Net overall. Jobs get created when technology happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Eternal Optimist Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Drinkon, and today is a special episode. It's our 200th episode, and we get to interview a dear friend of mine, someone that I have an immense amount of respect for. It's helped to change my business, helped to change my marriage, helped to change my life. No, I'm not just building it up for anything other than what it really is. Mr. Geoff Woods has had a phenomenal impact on my life, and I've gotten to know him personally over the last 3.5 years. So it's a real honor to have him here to start my day and to kick us off here on the show. So without any further ado, welcome Mr. Geoff Woods. Geoff, how are you, my friend?
Delightful, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, real pleasure. Delightful. That is, I've not heard delightful in a while. Why
I am delightful?
Good. When I hear someone say, good, how are you? Good. I have to pause for a second, but delightful.
Yes.
I love it. It's memorable. And I could sit here and I'll just rattle off a couple of things. I'll just ask you this, just to dive into the deep end here, Geoff. Why do you, someone with such business acumen, success, accolades, you've traveled around the world to advise people, companies, you've been around. If anyone Googles you and sees you, they know that you have accomplished and you have served and you've got a nice resume. So after all of that, why at this time are you choosing AI leadership as the place that you're heading into next?
It's been a journey. It actually started back when I was in college at UC Santa Barbara. I was doing an internship for a tech company. Right before graduation, Matt, I sit down with the CEO and I asked him for some advice. I asked him what job I should get after school. And he looked at me and he said, Geoff, you're asking the wrong question. And this surprised me, Max. Like, I'm a senior. I'm looking for jobs. How could that possibly be the wrong question? And He said, you should be asking, what are the skills I can master that are so valuable, they will serve me no matter where I go? And what jobs will help me develop those skills? Based on that, he suggested I go into sales. It was the best advice I've ever received. I carried it from sales at Xerox to medical device sales to ultimately partnering with Gary Keller and Jay Papasan around their book, The One Thing, turning that into a training and consulting company. And that's when you and I connected, was when I was leading that company. And that was such a cool job because all of a sudden I found myself being a coach or an advisor to companies from growth to the Fortune 500. And as I built and scaled that company, once I sold, I had a 2-year non-compete. So I had to do something. And I got a call from a guy named Naveen Jindal, who's the chairman of Jindal Steel and Power, huge steel company out of India. I had been his coach and coaching his executive team. And when he found out I left, he called me and asked, would you come in-house? And I said, maybe. What's the job? And he said, you tell me. And so the way they were structured, it's kind of like a family office. They owned a whole bunch of companies. My job, I stepped in as their chief growth officer, was to work alongside the family at a group level to understand the long-term strategic vision, but then work with the executive teams of every operating company to drive growth. And I did it by focusing on 4 things: strategy, execution, people, and technology. Strategy is the competitive advantage you're building in the long term through the actions you take in the short term. Execution is about, do you have a focused strategic plan? Are you reprioritizing throughout the year and staying focused on what matters most? People, do you have the right people in the right seats doing the right things? And then technology, how can you harness technology, whether it's to make your people better, your operations more efficient, or your products or services more valuable? While I was there, I came across AI, specifically ChatGPT. And the moment I saw it, Matt, I saw it as the next skill to master. And something I think a lot of leaders are doing right now is they see AI as they know it's the future. They don't know where to start. Some leaders are delegating it to someone on their team saying, figure this out. I personally viewed that as a mistake because your job as a leader is not to predict the future, but it's to prepare your company to survive a variety of futures and thrive in spite of them. I very much, once I saw its power, thought, okay, this is a real deal. Delegating the intelligence around this felt like an abdication of my leadership. So I wanted to become a practice leader of the technology so that I personally could understand it. And as I became proficient, specifically using it for strategic thinking and decision making at an executive level, I was convinced this was the future. I made a case to the chairman that we had drive this through all of our companies. He said he agreed. And I suggested that he own this at the board level because it would be such an important initiative. And he said, you know what? How about you do it? So now, every quarter when I'm flying to India, I'm now meeting with Google at their headquarters. We partnered with them. All of a sudden, I'm looking at use cases, tuning models, and I very much realized that I was playing too small. We were remarkably successful driving growth. I took them from $750 million to $12 billion as a market cap. And I still felt like I was playing very small compared to the impact I could be making if I took this out into the market in a bigger way. And the void that I saw, that I thought that I could solve. One, every leader knows it's the future, but they don't know where to start. Two, you have all these tech companies pushing it as a solution, looking for a problem, which is backwards. And three, you have all these people telling you if you don't adopt this in the next 6 months, you'll go out of business, which I think is just hype. There was a lack of trusted strategic guidance for leaders on who they have to become to not only accelerate growth, but harness this to build a competitive advantage and be able to get more done in less time. So that became the backbone of my book, The AI-Driven Leader, and my podcast, The AI-Driven Leader Podcast, and now the company behind it, AI Leadership.
Wow. You already answered a couple of the questions I had, so I'm going to drill and go a little deeper. So if I am this leader, I can be a leader of a company, a leader of a department, a leader of my family. I'm a leader, and I don't know where to start. And I see Geoff, who just delivered something that has me excited, and maybe I'm a little scared because I don't know where to take it.
Sure.
So what question might I ask next?
Let's gain a foundational understanding. There's only 3 ways AI can bring value to you. Actually, before I even go there,
okay,
AI adoption is not your goal. In business, driving growth is. The reason this matters is you have to think strategy first, technology second. If you're asking, how do I use AI? I might suggest that you're asking the wrong question. Because if you can't clearly articulate what your long-term competitive advantage is that you're trying to build, your strategy. If you can't clearly articulate what your strategic plan is for the next year that's going to keep you focused and executing in alignment with your long-term strategy. If you can't be clear that you are focusing on the right things, then worrying about AI technically is a distraction from what matters most. Now, here's what's interesting. Most people are actually not clear on their strategy. They're not clear on their strategic plan. They're not clear on the roles and responsibilities. I know this is shocking to you as a coach. AI actually becomes a phenomenal tool to help drive that clarity. If you view it as your thought partner, not as an assistant or another Google. Many people who are playing around with generative AI view it as an assistant, or they're treating it like Google. They are putting a ceiling over their achievement. Versus if you think of yourself as the thought leader and AI as your new thought partner, you can unlock a huge competitive advantage.
Oh, okay. Well, delineate then thought partner versus assistant. I am a leader that I'm trying to get clear on my strategy, and I can feel there's a difference. I'm not sure how to articulate it. Thought partner or assistant.
Think of the 80-20 rule, Matt. Most people go through their days bouncing from meeting to meeting and triaging the 80% tasks that only drive 20% of their results. They're busy all day, and then they look up at the end of the day and wonder what the heck they got done. Most people are using AI for tactical use cases, 80% use cases that only drive 20% of their results. Help me write this email, create 3 social media posts, help me write this blog post, help me draft a communication to my employees. It's very focused on the content creation, side, which can have value. I'm just coming from the perspective of if you're going to try to use AI, let's make sure it's a use case that matters, that delivers an impact. I work with executive teams. Me showing an executive how to write a better email with ChatGPT is a waste of their time. But their ability to think strategically is the difference between growing their business or going out of business. If I can elevate their strategic thinking and give them a simple way to make faster, smarter decisions for their business, that's a game changer. So I want to help people start using AI in a use case that's a 20% priority that's going to drive 80% of the results.
You got me fired up, Geoff. Prove it.
Prove it. A month ago, I sat down with a CEO and I asked him what was his biggest problem he was facing in his business. And he said, "Oh, that's easy. I own a manufacturing company. We leased all this equipment from a company in Japan. The debt structure is now killing us and we will go bankrupt if the debt does not get restructured." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What have you done?" And he walked me through the various strategies he had deployed, Matt, and why they didn't work. And then he said, "You know what? It really boils down to the fact that this is a publicly traded company out of Japan. It's gone all the way to the board, and the board is refusing to restructure the debt because they fear they will lose face in Japanese society. And it's going to put us out of business." So you tell me, Matt, is this a problem worth focusing on?
It feels like something that I could use some help in solving.
Correct.
But I don't know exactly where to start because I've tried so many things.
Correct. This is when you need a thought partner. And so I opened up AI, specifically ChatGPT in this case, and I wrote a very strategic prompt. I'm a CEO of a manufacturing company. We leased all this equipment out of a company from Japan that's publicly traded. The debt structure is now going to bankrupt us if it doesn't get restructured. Here's the specific strategies we've deployed, and I typed them out and why they didn't work. Bottom line, because it's publicly traded, this has gone to the board. They're refusing to restructure the debt because they're worried they'll lose face in Japanese society. Your task is to act as an investment banker with deep expertise in restructuring debt. Interview me by asking one question at a time, up to 3 questions, because I don't have all day, to gain additional context. And then I want you to generate 5 non-obvious strategies I could deploy that would get the board to restructure the debt.
Wow, that is a lot different than help me to write an email to save me a few seconds.
First question AI asked, do you have relationships with any other influential executives in Japan that the board would respect? Now, Matt, you ask questions for a living. How would you rate the quality of that question?
High quality question. It surprised me. It's a non-obvious question, just like you asked. Sharp.
Yeah.
Impressive already.
I looked at the CEO and he almost fell off his chair. Great question. And the truth was he did. So we started typing his information, and like he was literally talking to me and I'm transcribing what he's saying into AI. And I sent it. Second question and third question were all around Japanese society. Then it came back and said, here's your 5 non-obvious strategies. Number 1, it called the Saving Face Consortium. It said, you have enough relationships with other influential executives in Japan. My recommendation is that you approach them with really favorable terms for them to acquire the debt. They'd be fools not to take it. Your debt would get restructured and the board would save face. The CEO looked at me, Matt, and he said, I literally have been losing sleep for 3 months. This has been stressing me out. I literally had no next step. I had no idea what else I could do, and it was going to put me out of business. And in less than 10 minutes, we have a viable solution. I texted him a week ago to say, what's happened? And he said, we're not there yet, but the ball's moving, and I think it's going to get done. That's what I mean by using AI for strategic use cases, to think strategically and to make faster, smarter decisions rather than tactical use cases.
Wow. You proved it in a way that is 10,000 feet higher than I would assume most people even consider using AI.
Correct.
So how do we help people find out more or get into this and kind of break through this ceiling of complexity they have in their thinking?
Sure.
How do we help get it out there?
Sure.
Geoff?
Well, I mean, this is the entire purpose of the AI Driven Leader book and podcast, which throughout the book, I am giving very specific prompts. I even give you an AI thought partner that I have trained on the book and the prompts to help you think strategically so that you can get into action. That is a very simple thing to start. But let me give you a framework for how to think about this. Think of a flywheel. At the top, you start with the questions you ask yourself. Questions leads to awareness, which leads to action, which leads to communication, which leads to results. Now let me explain that. Most of us are asking ourselves the wrong question. How can I do this? The shift is to ask a different question. Instead of asking, how can I do this? Ask, how might AI help me do this? So literally think about anything that you do throughout the day. And if you just ask, how might AI help me do this? That will create awareness of a potential use case. You will take action by opening up AI and writing a prompt. Mm-hmm. And based on the quality of your communication with AI, you will get a certain level of result. The better quality of the communication, the better quality of the result. And it just keeps spinning. And this is what people don't realize. Your marriage is a direct reflection of the quality of your communication with your spouse. Communicate well, life is good. Don't communicate well, life's not so good. Same thing with AI. Most people, when they go to AI, they're treating it like another Google. And they're just saying, help me identify how to get a Japanese board to restructure the debt. And they send it. There's no context there. So it can't process and actually work with you. So the thing that I put in the book is to really help people get started communicating with AI, think of it like a recipe. When you make a recipe, you have different ingredients. I'm going to give you the communication ingredients for AI. I'm going to give you the top 4 ones that I think are most valuable for strategic thinking. 1, describe the task. You always need to clearly tell AI what you want it to do. If somebody tells me it's not working for them and I look at their prompt, quite often they have not clearly articulated what they want AI to do. And they wonder why it's not delivering the result. It's because it was crystal clear in their head, but it was clear as mud when it came out of their head. Mm-hmm. Second, you have to give it context. While it has been trained on 200 million books worth of data, and it can recall 100% of that knowledge and apply it to your use case, it's still not you. It will never have your human wisdom. It will never have your experience. It will never see the world the way that you see it, which is why it's vital that you, as the thought leader, give it sufficient context. Third ingredient is assigning a persona. Every one of us has experience that makes us, develop a level of expertise. But essentially, we've gone through our lives with horse blinders on. We've only seen what we see, yet there's so much else around us. And so this is a great equalizer. When I told AI to act as an investment banker with deep expertise in restructuring debt, I am not that person. I know nothing about that, but I was able to tap into AI as my thought partner. And from the 200 million books of data, it went whoop, and shunted it down to vital data around what an investment banker would know, or somebody who really had deep expertise around restructuring debt. And like a laser, it was able to go zoom and harness that at the task that I described. This is super powerful. So you can ask AI to act as an aggressive, growth-minded board member. You can ask it to act as your ideal customer and describe them in vivid detail. You can ask it to act as a budget-conscious CFO, or maybe a branding expert or a copywriter, and it will tap into that intelligence and harness it toward your use case. So we've described the task, we've given context, we've assigned a persona, and my favorite ingredient of all, the salt and pepper, ask AI to interview you. This is the one that surprises people. Most people tell AI to do things or ask AI questions. I like when AI asks me questions, because I have learned that I am not the best at proactively communicating everything that someone or something needs to know to get a job done. So I make it AI's responsibility to ask me the questions it needs to gather the information so it can harness that data to deliver the result. Those 4 ingredients will change the game for you.
Wow. How do I describe how I feel right now? Just hearing an expert talk about AI leadership. I'm excited about it. How do I find out more? Like, what's the next step that I might take? Is it the book? Is it the podcast? Where do I go?
Yes, you can do that. So AI Leadership is the website, aileadership.com. The book's on Amazon as well, The AI Driven Leader. The podcast is The AI Driven Leader. Think of that as resources to help you take the next step. If I think about what a person's journey looks like with this, you start, I call this the AI empowerment curve. You start at the starting point. You've heard of AI, you believe it's the future, you have some optimistic views, you have a lot of question marks, you might have some critical views, or maybe even fear. The first step is to have the light bulb moment. This is when you see AI turn a relatable moment into a remarkable experience. So like for that CEO, me doing that use case for strategic thinking was his light bulb moment. For what's another good one? I did this yesterday with a woman who owns a spiritual fine jewelry line where they've been wildly successful getting into big stores, but their direct to consumer traffic and conversion is not great. And so I literally went to AI and gave AI the website and said, can you access the website? And it said, yes. I said, give me feedback as an expert web designer with deep expertise in designing websites that convert with a focus on fine jewelry. Tell me what you like about the website, what you don't like about the website, and the top changes we would make to maximize conversion of traffic to customers. And it instantly did an analysis and spotted it back. And then I said, great, now I want you to act as an expert copywriter. Interview me, ask me up to 5 questions about my business to gather all the information you could need so that you could generate the content to support the changes that you just suggested I make. And it interviewed her 1 question at a time, pulling all these things out of her head about what makes her jewelry so unique. She travels the world, goes to these spiritual locations, looks at symbols, feels the presence, pulls like stones from the earth from that area and brings them all together in a piece that grounds you in who you are and a connection to earth and to something spiritual. Like she said all this, and I'm transcribing all this back into AI. And what it came back with, when I read it to her, she was almost in tears. So that's a light bulb moment. Once you have the light bulb moment, though, you're going to be excited to try this. Then you're going to fall off the cliff. And you're going to have what I call the reality check. Because you're going to try to use AI, and because you don't know how to talk to it yet, it's not going to deliver a result. When that happens for you, I want you to remember, Geoff told you this was going to happen. You are right where you should be. What you need to focus on is the quality of your communication. And that's the communication ingredients. Am I describing the task? Am I giving sufficient context? Did I assign a persona? Did I ask AI to interview me to gather questions? Now, by the way, I consistently say, ask me 1 question at a time, because if you don't, it'll ask you 5 questions at once. So that's why I do that. But once you start communicating with AI, Matt, all of a sudden you're trying it and you're getting results and you feel like you're building momentum. That's the next stage. And then you keep trying it across all these different use cases, and all of a sudden you feel like you're accelerating progress. That's the next stage. And eventually you look up and you are AI driven. This is your new thought partner in all things that you do. You are getting way more done in way less time, and you are just expanding what's possible. When that happens, you need to think through, how do I help my people harness this to be more productive? How might I weave this into my operations to be more efficient? And should we consider harnessing this to create more valuable products or services?
Wow, wow, and wow. And I am a CEO. And I just had a light bulb moment. And I hear this show, I get the book, I consume it quickly. And like some CEOs, I can sit here and try to figure this all out myself because you are very articulate in sharing it. But I want to go straight to the source. Can I call you and then get you to come and coach my team? And maybe that's too direct, or maybe I don't know if that's the right question.
Yeah.
But it feels like I want to save some time and I want to be coached and trained by an expert in this. Can I get you, Geoff?
There are, at a high level, 3 things that we do. We do workshops for executive teams, whether that be an executive or board level workshop to help them understand what this is and how they can harness it at a board level to gain a foundational competence around the technology. That's one offering. Or we facilitate full-blown strategic offsites to create clarity and alignment around the long-term strategy and the strategic plan for the year. Those are the 2 types of workshops we do. So workshops is one bucket. We then have a network of executives that we call the AI-driven leadership collective. These are executives with decision-making authority who are committed to becoming AI-driven leaders and harnessing it as a tool to accelerate growth, build a competitive advantage, get more done in less time, while also creating better lives for their people. So think of that as like a high-end private mastermind where we come together off-site to think strategically, because we're too busy to do it in our offices, as well as collaborate on how we are harnessing AI and accelerate our learning from each other. So workshops, the collective, and then finally is when we get into the consulting advisory side, where we will on a quarterly basis, like we will become the executive thought partners, where we ride shotgun with the executive team throughout the year to do discoveries on a quarterly basis to identify the high impact use cases that will make an impact in the business. And then we have a full-blown partnership program where we can connect you with the vendors who can actually get that done.
Wow. Excited.
Me too.
Very excited,
Me
man.
too.
This is it. Woo!
I mean, honestly, Matt, like I genuinely believe that we are creating a new category of leadership here. If I think about pre-AI, we operated off of industrial waste where leaders told their people what to do. People focused on getting things done as efficiently and as effectively as possible. But there's going to be a huge shift here because AI can already augment or automate about half of what we do as knowledge workers. That scares some people. I actually think this is a huge opportunity because remember, most of our time is spent in meetings and doing low value tasks. Now imagine a world if AI could actually free up that 80% that only drives 20% of the results. And all of a sudden you could harness your unique strengths focused on the priorities of your role in alignment with company goals and then be supercharged with AI. Holy smokes. I genuinely believe we can create a world where people make a huge impact every single day. They feel energized rather than drained at the end of the day. And then when they're with their families, they're actually with their families because they're not thinking about the priorities they should have gotten done at work, but didn't get done. But here's what's interesting to me. Technology is not what will make the difference. It's you as the leader, which is why this is not an AI book. It's actually a leadership book.
Wow. Another paradigm shift here. Feeling that AI is going to solve it for me. No, the work still remains here.
Think of it this way. You are going to shift from playing an instrument to becoming a composer of strategy and a conductor of teams and technology. It's no longer about how well can you play the violin in your role. It's about how can you compose a strategy for the future and how can you, as a conductor with the wave of your baton, align people and technology to create sounds that are greater than the sum of its parts.
Wow. Sold. Sold, interested, excited. There might be some fear or something holding me back.
What do you think that is?
Lack of understanding, fear of, we'll just say a lack of understanding. I heard so much good stuff right here. And one challenge might be, I don't know why I'm afraid, but there's something about big technology that might scare me. How do I get past that first fear that's in front of me right now?
I felt that. I did, because I didn't understand it. What helped me was becoming a practice leader of the technology. Once I started to understand what AI is, which it's just a machine or a computer that can process information and do things that humans can do. It's like a computer, it's like a calculator for your mind. And all it works by, it takes an input, it processes it, it generates an output, and then it learns to improve. Once I realized that, the fear started to go away. Now, there were certain other fears that might have popped up around the risks around this from a privacy security standpoint. These models have biases, so you need to be aware of that. Knowing how to fact check something, it hallucinates, it makes stuff up, so you have to know how to fact check it. Thinking through the difference between the relationship with a person versus the relationship with a machine. And I think one of the big risks that people aren't thinking about is they're abdicating their role as the thought leader. They are asking AI to write the blog post and they're just copying and pasting it. That is a path to mediocrity. Because it's not you. But what it will do is it gets you to a first draft wicked fast. And then you as thought leader have editorial oversight where you give it feedback on what you like and what you don't like. You put things into your own words. At the end of the day, you are still accountable for what you put out into the world and to make sure that this is a reflection of your thoughts and values.
Well stated. Well stated. And I'll share with you what I've been doing using AI for. I've been using it for exactly what you shared and creating a blog post, creating some written word of 1,000 words, some entry. And then when I look at it, it does feel kind of generic. And as you said, mediocre, so going back and adding that personal flavor to it, that's the current level that I'm at in using AI.
Correct. Can I share like real use the jewelry run from yesterday? I want to read you what it said. So if I had said, we're a fine jewelry line, create, the content that should go on my homepage of my website to maximize conversion, it would have given me something awful. It would have been terrible. But that's not what I did. I had it interview, in this case, her name's Orly. I had it interview Orly and asked lots of questions. And I literally transcribed everything that she said, Matt. Let me read you what it said. Our story, jewelry that inspires connection. At Orly Marcel, each piece is more than just an accessory. It's a meaningful expression of self. Inspired by Eastern philosophy, sacred spaces, and my own practices in yoga and meditation, our designs are crafted to evoke a sense of awe, grounding, and connection to something greater. From intricate mandalas reflecting sacred geometry to natural inlay stones that ground you in the earth's energy, our jewelry is a reminder to be present, to connect with yourself, and to embrace the beauty around you. Each piece carries a deeper message, such as our engravings like Be the Light, intended to inspire and uplift you as you move throughout your day.
Wow.
Like, come
Much
on.
more personal.
Come on. And it's because it interviewed her. It was like, well, tell me your story. What makes this so valuable and meaningful to you? And walk me through the things that you do that that separate this from every other jewelry? It asked a question like that. And she just started talking. And I'm literally transcribing everything that she's saying. Like, I went to India and I saw these mandalas and I went to these temples. And like, it's about more than just a piece. It's about grounding to yourself, grounding to the earth, having this, like, being a part of something greater. And I'm literally typing all of this into AI, and it's viewing all of that like data points, and like a massive computer for the mind, it's able to go and deliver something like that.
Wow.
It was cool.
To say the least, that's cool. I'm sitting over here. You're sitting on a rocket ship ready to take off and lead us, and I'm sitting over here excited to be a part of that journey. How do I get the book? How do I listen to the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Just tell us what to do next.
Yep. Go to aileadership.com. That's the easiest place to go. You can access the book from there. It can point you to Amazon as well. The podcast it can point you to. We also have our AI thought partner on that website. So this is literally an AI model that I trained on the book and trained it to interact as me, that you can now use it to do strategic thinking. So here's a great framework that you can use. Like, I would highly suggest you go to the website and do this. I want you to think about a problem that you are facing or an opportunity that you have. And I want you just to start telling it about it. Describe the problem or describe the opportunity. Give it all the context that you think it needs to know. Then tell it, I want you to be my thought partner. Interview me. Ask me one question at a time, up to 3 questions. And then I want you to, and tell it the task you want it to complete. So it could be like, I'm facing this problem in my business, or I have I want to double the revenue of my business in the next 12 months. For context, this is my company. When I think about my strategic plan, here's the things that we are thinking about prioritizing. These are the challenges that I think could get in our way. I want you to be my thought partner. Interview me by asking one question at a time, up to 3 questions. Then I want you to tell me what you like about my plan. Tell me what you don't like about my plan. And tell me the top changes you think I should make to my plan. Go try that. That'll blow your mind.
Yeah, I'm excited to literally try it today.
Let me give you another one. Another one.
Drinking from a fire hose today.
Yep.
Let's go.
I have a goal to drive an increase in revenue by X. For context, this is what you need to know about my business. Here's the headline, subheadline, and call to action from my website. And literally copy and paste the copy there. I want you to act as an expert copywriter. Interview me by asking one question at a time, up to 3 questions to gain additional context. And then I want you to tell me 5 headline, subheadline, call to action combinations that you think would drive an increase in conversion for me to hit my goal. Have fun.
Cool. Man, excited for the book, excited to try these prompts, just excited. Talk about the podcast. I mean, what type of, what's the mission of the podcast, and who might we be talking to on the podcast?
To solve the very thing that you're facing right now, which is you're super excited and inspired right now, but you're lacking the context of where this can be applied. And so I want, like that conversation I did yesterday with Orly from Orly Marcel, I recorded that. That's going to become a podcast episode. I want people to hear my conversations with actual executives around the problems they are facing, and us actually opening up AI and writing the prompts and what it says back and forth. Because I want to help people have the light bulb moments.
Ladies and gentlemen listening right now, this is where to go to get the knowledge, to get the training, to see the use cases, to drink from this fire hose and make it a little bit easier and drinkable from the start. Geoff Woods, our AI-driven leader, starting a new category, it feels like to me. Because I've not heard anybody go to this level in depth. I've listened to some people you might call thought leaders on AI, but I've not heard this level of depth. This is amazing, Geoff. Wow. What have I not asked you that I should ask you right now?
how to navigate the risks and manage the potential fear of your people. If I have to summarize, here's what you need to know. AI has been trained on data. That inherently creates a bias in the model. So ChatGPT has biases. Gemini has biases. Claude has biases. Whatever you get from it, you need to be aware that there is a bias in what it gives you because it was trained on data that was written by people who have biases. Be aware of it. Privacy and security. If you are using a product that is free, the product is not the product. You are the product. So if you're using one of these free versions of one of these large language models, then they are training on your data. That might be okay. Be thoughtful about what you put into it. The thing I told my kids was like, if you would feel comfortable, whatever you put into AI being shared with all your friends, go for it. But if not, maybe you want to anonymize it. Maybe you want to leave certain details out. Like I won't sometimes name, when I was used to use a free model, I wouldn't name the company name in the use case. I would say I'm a large CPG company that sells plant-based milk.
Okay.
Instead of saying the name of the company. Hallucinations. The way AI works, it just predicts the next word. If I say the sky is, you would say blue. If I say it barks like a, you would say dog. That's all AI is doing. You put an input in, it barks like a, and it processes all the data it has, 200 million books worth of data on what the next word should be. And it gives an output, dog. And then based on your interaction with it, it learns and gets better. So inherently, it's designed to please you. So what it will give you will sound amazing, but you are the thought leader. It is your thought partner. You still have to ask, do I believe this is right? You have to fact check things. Ask it to cite its sources. Tell it to avoid making things up or hallucinating. It makes a difference. I already talked about the abdication of your thought leadership. What it gives you, without a lot of context, will be average. You're still in the driver's seat. It's still your work that you're submitting. You need to stand by it. And then let's talk about, there are people that are worried that this will be the end of humanity. I'm not an expert on this. Here's what I will say. At a high level, do I believe that governmental regulations are required? Yeah, I do. But I went back and I looked at all the previous technological transformations, from the printing press to the steam engine, assembly line, electricity, internet. What became very clear was that technology is neither good nor bad. The people who harness it are the ones that determine its impact. There will be good actors. There will be bad actors. My call to action is for us to go on a journey to becoming AI-driven leaders who are building better businesses and better lives by keeping our people at the center. I'm going to focus on what I can control. And I also recognize the AI train has left the station. Me burying my head in the sand and not developing competence around this is an abdication of my role as a leader. Understand the technology, become a practice leader of the technology, and become a steward for humanity.
I would say mic drop, but everything that you say is like a mic drop in this category that we are creating and developing as we speak. Geoff, as we wrap up, is there anything else that has been unsaid that you'd like to share and summarize for us again, or anything else?
This is going to be a journey that's going to force you to redefine who you can become. Technology changes the skills that we apply and the processes that we follow. That's all a job is. The skills you apply and the processes you follow. 6 out of 10 jobs that exist today didn't exist in 1940. Yet employment still was there. Employment continues to go up. Net overall jobs get created when technology happens. You might still have the same title in 5 years that you have today, but what the skills that you apply and the processes that you follow are going to be different. The reason so many people are afraid that they're going to they're actually not afraid that they're going to lose their job. They're afraid that they're going to lose their identity because they attach what they do to who they are. And this is an opportunity for you to redefine who you are and who you can become. You, Matt, coaching is what you do, but it's not who you are. And the moment you can align your identity with what you do versus attach it to what you do, I think you start to have a much more well-rounded life.